Electricity access refers to the percentage of people in an area that have relatively simple, stable access to electricity. It can also be referred to as the electrification rate. Poor electricity access is one of the biggest developmental challenges facing many African countries. Millions of people live in perpetual darkness in Africa, unable to get access to electricity for essential household use. Electricity is a major driver of development in any country, most especially in Africa. It is estimated that around 1.2 billion people worldwide do not have access to electricity in their homes, with most of these people located in Africa. However, the number of people without access to electricity in Africa dropped from almost 860 million in 2018 to 770 million in 2019. This represents 38% of the population on the continent, indicating that Africa is improving. In today's video, we'll look at the 20 African countries with the best electricity access in 2023. Let's get into the video. 20. Sudan, 45% electricity access. 45% of Sudan's 45.7 million people can access the electric grid. Many people use rooftop solar arrays or noisy, polluting diesel generators to keep the lights on, but many more are left in the dark. Sudan is challenged by high electricity subsidies and droughts caused by climate change, which reduce hydroelectric generation by 4% each year. Improving access to modern, affordable energy is thus a development priority for the country in Northeast Africa. Sudan's government looks forward to working with international partners, the private sector, and others to achieve Sudan's renewable energy future. 19. The Democratic Republic of Congo, 48% electricity access. Despite millions of dollars of donor funding, only 48% of the Congolese have access to electricity out of the 108 million inhabitants. Lack of access to modern electricity services impairs the health, education, and income-generating potential of millions of Congolese. Most power generation development is directed and funded by mining companies seeking to power their facilities. The government is seeking to increase power connections by appealing for development funding and mandating that electricity companies provide power to the population in addition to mining companies. Many universities and academic institutions in the DRC have founded centers for the research and development of renewable energy sources, such as solar and biodiesel. 18. Ethiopia, 48% electricity access. With Ethiopia having 48% access to electricity, the government has launched an ambitious plan to bring power to all citizens by 2025, combining on- and off-grid electrification. The World Bank is supporting Ethiopia's efforts through the $375 million Ethiopian Electrification Program, which focuses on last-mile connections along with sectorial and institutional reform. Ethiopia, the 12th most populous country in the world and the second most populous in Africa after Nigeria, has abundant renewable energy resources and has the potential to generate over 60,000 megawatts of electric power from hydroelectric, wind, solar, and geothermal sources. Despite Ethiopia's energy potential, the country is experiencing energy shortages and load shedding as it struggles to serve a population of over 113 million inhabitants and meet growing electricity demand that is forecast to grow by approximately 30% per year. As a result of Ethiopia's rapid GDP growth over the previous decade, electricity demand has been steadily increasing. If you're still watching this video, then you're interested in Africa and its development. Hit the like button, share this video with friends, and then subscribe to the New Tourist channel. Also, turn on notifications so that you get alerts when we upload new videos like this one. 17. Eritrea, 50% electricity access. Eritrea's access to electricity remains at 50%. With a population of 3.6 million people, electricity in Eritrea is analogous to an industry lacking natural resources. Eritrea's power is supplied through oil-based power plants. Electricity is available only in larger cities through the Eritrean Electricity Authority, a vertically integrated utility. Electricity access remains low, particularly due to the large number of rural villages that do not have electricity. About 90% of the installed generation capacity is from two diesel power plants, the Herjigo 132 megawatt plant and the Balaza 17 megawatt plant. 16. Namibia. 55% electricity access. The power sector in Namibia has undertaken several reforms aimed at attracting independent power producers by providing a stable investment environment. Such reforms include the horizontal consolidation of more than 70 distributors into 5 regional electricity distribution companies. It also includes the establishment of transparent tariff-setting procedures, all overseen by the sector regulator, the Electricity Control Board. Out of its population of 2.5 million people, only 55% have access to electricity as of 2023. Electricity supply is both stable and reliable in the major centers, at least. In cities and towns such as Windhoek, Swakopmund, Walvis Bay, and Tsumeb, you can be assured of a constant supply of electricity. In more rural areas, especially farms and lodges, electricity may be slightly harder to come by. However, places without electricity have made some attempts to provide electricity, either via solar panels or generators. 15. Nigeria. 55% electricity access. Nigeria has struggled with poor power supply for years, often caused by generation and transmission problems. Its national grid has failed at least 5 times in 2022 alone. Nigeria is Africa's largest country, with a population of 225 million people, and 55% have access to electricity. The World Bank had approved $500 million to support the government of Nigeria in improving its electricity distribution sector. About 85 million Nigerians don't have access to grid electricity. This represents 43% of the country's population. The lack of reliable power is a significant constraint for citizens and businesses, resulting in annual economic losses. According to the 2020 World Bank Doing Business report, Nigeria ranks 171 out of 190 countries in getting electricity, and electricity access is seen as one of the major constraints for the private sector. 14. Cameroon. 63% electricity access. Energy in Cameroon is a growing industry with tremendous potential, especially in the hydroelectric industry. Cameroon's energy production mix consists of 57% hydraulic power, 21% thermal springs and gas, 10% heat sources for light fuel oil, and 13% heat sources for heavy fuel oil, for a total installed capacity of 1,292 megawatts. Access to electricity in Cameroon is at 63% in 2023. Cameroon has the potential to provide itself completely with self-produced energy. 13. Equatorial Guinea. 67% electricity access. Energy in Equatorial Guinea is an industry with plenty of potentials, especially in the fields of oil and natural gas. However, production has been declining in recent years due to underinvestment and a lack of discoveries. The National Electricity Company of Guinea is responsible for all production and distribution of electricity in the country. However, service is poor. Even households in Conakry are served for less than 12 hours a day. Electricity in Guinea is locally produced, while they import all the petroleum products it needs. Electricity access is at 67% with a population of 2 million people. 12. Ivory Coast. 69% electricity access. The country has 4 primary energy sources: hydropower, oil, natural gas, and biomass. 70% of energy consumption comes from biomass, followed by commercial and public services, transportation, industry, and agriculture. Ivory Coast's electricity access reached 92% of the population in urban areas in 2022, while in rural areas it is still limited to 38%, although it is increasing. The national overall electricity access rate is 69%. This rate is one of the highest in the subregion. 11. Liberia. 69% electricity access. Liberia has one of the lowest access rates to electricity in the world, but one of the best in Africa. In the capital city of Monrovia, only 6.7% of the population has access to electricity. Monrovia's grid is largely supplied by expensive diesel fuel generation resources. Formal electricity services are solely provided by the state-owned Liberia Electricity Corporation, which operates a small grid almost exclusively in the Greater Monrovia District. Most electric energy services are provided by small, privately owned generators. Electricity is available to 69% of the country's population. Liberia has the potential to further develop its wind, solar, and hydroelectric energy resources. By 2030, the country aims to generate 75% of its electricity from renewable sources. 10. Senegal. 70% electricity access. Senegal has one of the highest electrification rates on the continent at 70%, but this high electrification rate is masking profound disparities across urban and rural areas, geographies, and income groups. According to Senegal's most recent demographic and health survey program, there is a strong correlation between poverty and a lack of access to electricity. Senegal's major source of electricity is diesel. The rest is mostly coal and hydroelectricity. We hope you are enjoying the video. Subscribe to the New Tourist channel and hit like. That way, you'll be notified whenever we upload a new video on interesting facts about Africa. Let's continue with the video. 9. Kenya. 70% electricity access. Kenya's electricity access is 70% as of 2023. Universal access to electricity is a key requirement for meeting Kenya's development goals under Vision 2030 of becoming a newly industrialized and middle-income country. Kenyan households and businesses will need competitively priced, reliable, safe, and sustainable energy to deliver on its Big Four agenda priorities, which are affordable housing, manufacturing, food security, and universal healthcare. 8. Botswana. 70% electricity access. According to the African Energy Commission, a total of 99.6% of electricity produced in 2015 was from fossil fuels. Industry consumed 25.1% of all electricity consumed in 2015. Botswana's energy capacity is thermal, produced mostly in coal-fired plants with a few small diesel generators in rural areas. The country has 70% electricity access as of 2023. The 132-megawatt Morocco coal-fired power plant provides most of the domestic electricity supply. More than 50% of Botswana's power requirements are imported from South Africa and Zambia. 7. Ghana. 84% electricity access. Ghana has a vibrant power generation sector, with both public and private companies involved in it. Reforms in the power sector in the 1980s gradually removed barriers and created a level playing field for the participation of independent power producers in an area that had previously been dominated by participants from the public sector. Ghana has an electricity rate of 84%. Hydro generation, as well as thermal generation fueled by crude oil, natural gas, and diesel, continue to be the main sources of Ghana's power supply. Ghana also exports power to Togo, Benin, and Burkina Faso. 6. South Africa. 85% electricity access. South Africa currently generates most of its electricity from coal, with the country's national access to electricity rate standing at 85% in 2023. The country is targeting energy diversification and scaling up investment and development in renewable energy in a bid to reduce its reliance on coal and further improve access. By 2030, South Africa intends to reduce coal use to less than 60% while increasing renewables to 25%. 5. Gabon. 91% electricity access. Gabon is a country along the Atlantic coast of Central Africa. In Gabon, the country's electricity access rate is 91% in 2023, with a population of 2.3 million. Under the Gabon Emergent Policy, the oil-rich country aims to introduce a sustainable energy mix, including biomass, natural gas, and hydropower in efforts to reduce the reliance on fossil fuels and improve access to electricity across the rural population. 4. Tunisia. 100% electricity access. Covering all its domestic consumption needs, Tunisia boasts 100% national electricity access for both rural and urban areas in 2023, with a population of about 12 million people. The North African country predominantly generates its electricity from natural gas and is on track for long-term investment in renewable energy, targeting a 30% share of renewables by 2023. 3. Morocco. 100% electricity access. With a population of 37 million, it has achieved a 100% national electricity access rate for both its rural and urban populations. Located in North Africa and bordering the Atlantic Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea, Morocco represents a high-potential renewable energy market, particularly regarding solar. With plans to increase the share of renewables in the energy mix to 52% for wind and solar by 2030, major developments are currently underway. 2. Algeria, 100% electricity access. With a 100% national electricity access rate, Algeria ranks among some of the top electrified countries in Africa in the year 2023. Natural gas accounts for 96% of the country's installed capacity, with the remaining 4% sourced from a combination of oil, solar, hydropower, and wind. 1. Egypt, 100% electricity access. Bordering the Mediterranean Ocean and the Red Sea, Egypt has achieved a 100% national electricity access rate for both rural and urban populations. Egypt's electricity is sourced mainly from hydropower and thermal power stations, with the country advancing as a leader in the renewable energy sector. Currently, the country is developing plans to export surplus electricity via interconnections to Europe, the Middle East, and sub-Saharan Africa. Investments in renewable technologies may play a key role in improving access to electricity in Africa. The continent has abundant hydro, solar, wind, and bioenergy resources. Renewable energy capacity on the continent almost doubled in the last 10 years. Similarly, the number of Africans connected to solar mini-grids has strongly increased, although it still covers a small share of the entire population, revealing a potential for growth in the coming years. We have come to the end of the video, guys. What do you think about electricity access in Africa? Let us know in the comments section. Thank you for watching, and see you in our next video.